Huge mushrooms in Minecraft are super duper cool. You can harvest lots of micro mushrooms, mini mushrooms, normal mushroom items from them, and you can use them as extra textures in your build if you happen to have Silk Touch. So how do you make them easily? We'll jump into it. Oh, I'm just waking up in my mushroom house where I keep all my mushroom. What? There it is. Sorry, just a little bit of lag. I was like, who stole all my mushrooms? My mushroom chest with all my mushrooms in it, my suspicious stew. So this is probably what you're hoping to get out of this video, is to have either a great source of mushrooms, the tiny mushrooms, to have a great source of those mushrooms to make yourself some suspicious stew, or maybe you want the huge mushrooms in order to get one of 3 very nice blocks to build with. That is the brown mushroom, the red mushroom, and the mushroom stem. Or there's another texture, a fourth texture that you can get off of these mushrooms, and maybe you want to build with that. Well, this video will explain all, but first let's go through my mushroom area. Yeah, I'm a little mushroom crazy. I have a giant mushroom with lots of extra special mushrooms that I've made myself, but there are some standard mushrooms as well. Here's what a generic mushroom looks like. If you haven't seen them in Minecraft, who are you and where have you come from? This is the brown variety and this is the red variety. These are technically called huge mushrooms, although I really want to call them giant mushrooms. So if I do that during the video, I apologize. Huge mushrooms are these fantastic little guys. Just this one and this one. These other ones, those are handmade for this map. But they come in both varieties of the normal smaller item mushrooms, and they look incredible. This is that fourth texture I'm talking about. The inside of the mushroom has another texture. So if you want to build with that texture, I'm going to give you a tip on how to do that. These mushrooms are around 7 blocks tall. That's about as tall as they get, unless if you have a super tall huge mushroom. And that is a super tall huge mushroom right here. They have a 1 in 12 chance of naturally spawning in any of the different biomes that they spawn in. And you can use bone meal to get one, and you have a 5% chance of that happening. These are obviously way taller than the normal mushrooms, and the extra tall mushrooms can grow up to 13 blocks tall. Here's all my little notes on those. So up to 13 blocks is the maximum size of a super tall, huge mushroom. But now we need to go find out, where do these giant mushrooms spawn naturally? So let's go to my secret place, and that is this mushroom island area. So this is one of the spots that giant mushrooms will naturally spawn in, and as you can see, they are taking up the entire mushroom island. If you watch my rarest biomes video, you do know that this biome is incredibly rare, so it's really hard to find. So the chances of you bouncing into a mycelium island, mushroom island situation, incredibly rare. But these giant mushrooms do spawn here naturally. Now let's go check out another fantastic place that these guys spawn, and that is here inside of a swamp. Wait a second. This is a whole different game type. What? We've switched to Windows 10 version. This is the Bedrock edition of the game, and in the Bedrock edition of the game, as you can, by the way, we're in beta, as you can see at the top of this game here, and my whole skin is different. Look, who the heck is this guy? What the heck? He has spiky hair and an eye patch. In the Bedrock edition of the game, you get mushrooms spawning in swamps. That's right. You thought that it wasn't possible, but bam, here they are. They just kind of chill out in the swamp area. Here's a super tall version. One second, I need to get out of the water here. This one is like even taller than I expected because it goes into the water as well. But there you go, super tall variety of mushroom inside of the Bedrock edition of the game, inside of swamps. So this is obviously really cool. On to our next location. Bam! And this is a roofed forest. Inside of a roofed forest, there are lots of mushrooms naturally spawning, just like in the Bedrock edition of the game with the swamps. I love the addition of these to the roofed forest area. Very, very, very cool to see them sort of scattered amongst the dark forest, this dark oak trees. I believe that the biome name has changed, so now it is the dark forest instead of the roofed forest. That's totally fine. It's fine. It's fine. Not like I would expect it or anything like that. But there you go. So how are you going to make your very own giant mushroom? Well, if you have hung around for very long with Minecraft, you probably already know the answer, and that is to take a normal mushroom and then apply bone meal to it. And so if you just take this mushroom and just set it here on the set it here on the ground. What the heck? It's not working. I was expecting that. That is because mushrooms are very, very conscious of light level. So if you want to place down a mushroom, you have to go into an area where it is shady when it is 13 light level or less, and then you can place a mushroom on the ground. But this isn't really conducive to growing giant mushrooms because there's so much stuff around them. Now they don't spawn themselves because there's too many solid blocks around. You do have a chance. So if we find an area, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. If you find an area that has a low enough light level and you spam this thing enough, there is a chance, that you're going to get a super tall, huge mushroom. And that's also the best way if you really want a super tall, huge mushroom is to find an area and just build up some solid blocks where a normal mushroom would spawn. And then you can do it enough times that you get the super tall variety. But if you just want to make a normal mushroom, having to deal with that light level issue can be a problem. There's one way to fix it. Let's say we want to build a mushroom right there. Well, we can build a roof. And now that we have built a area that will force the light level to be less than 13, then we can go ahead and make, it made a super tall variety there. Now that's pretty annoying that you would have to go up, build a secondary thing, and then now that this is built, we can remove it. Now that it's removed, the mushroom that we created is fine. It's not like it is going to disappear or break out of the ground. If you were to put down some mushrooms and then change the light level, sometimes they will pop out of the ground. There you go. So those mushrooms just, left because the light level is too big, but that doesn't happen with the big varieties. I was pointing that out just to point out that won't happen. It's not like your mushroom will just pop out of the ground or something like that. So what is the tip that I have for getting around this light level requirement? Well, if you happen to have mycelium, then you can place a mushroom onto the ground at any light level. But mycelium's pretty difficult to get because obviously you need to find a mushroom island. Yeah, don't really want to do that. So then your other option, and this is the big tip of the video, is that Podzol will also ignore the light level that a mushroom requires. So you can put down Podzol in any light level, and then you can place a mushroom on top of it to create your huge mushrooms. But Podzol can be just as finicky as mycelium. So how is this really a great tip? Because first you need to go find a taiga biome that has Podzol in it. You need to make sure that you have Silk Touch in order to get the Podzol out of the ground without becoming dirt. So really, Chad, this is kind of a crummy tip. Well, I have an answer for you, and that is spruce saplings. So spruce is not difficult to find, especially if you don't find a taiga biome. You can just find other biomes that have spruce in them and just harvest the trees to get the saplings. Wooded mountains, snowy tundra, snowy taiga, giant tree taiga, or taiga biomes all have spruce, and they're a little bit easier to find than the Podzol that only spawn in the taiga biome. And they're a little bit easier to find than the Podzol that will only spawn in the giant taiga tree biomes, or it does spawn in the bamboo jungle biome. So there's only two biomes that the Podzol will spawn in. And that is to use these trees, a little bit of bone meal, smack it a few times, and then bam, a giant spruce tree will spawn and the base will turn into Podzoil. So any grass blocks that happen to be around, those will transition into Podzoil blocks once you have a gigantic spruce tree. And I think that this grass may be... Yeah, well, there we go. So there you go. So that is a way that you can get Podzoil anywhere you want. Now, this is already on the ground. You don't need Silk Touch. All you have to do is remove the tree, and then you can get your Podzoil. Now that the tree is destroyed, you go ahead and place a normal mushroom down, and then bam, huge mushroom for you to use. If you do happen to have Silk Touch, obviously you could go find some Podzoil and pick this up. I happen to have a Silk Touch book right here, and so you can actually break it with a Silk Touch book, and you'll get each of these blocks back. And so we can use this up here on the top, and we get these awesome brown blocks, or you could use it to get these stem blocks. All of that will work. Now, I mentioned getting all 4 textures to build with. So how do you do it? How do you get this extra type of texture inside of your build? Well, whenever you place this block into the world, it'll have every face being the normal face. But if you put that same type of block onto a face and then remove it, then you'll get that special texture. If it's another type of mushroom block, that won't work. If it's just another block entirely, that won't work. It needs to be the same type of block. And it's almost as if you're growing the mushroom out a little bit, and then when you break it, then you have the extra face of that block there. And so if you want to use this texture in your builds, just place down the block that you want and then place down an extra bit of it and destroy it so that you'll have this extra texture to build with. Also, if you happen to just break this block with whenever you're just in survival, you will get that type of mushroom back as a drop. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the huge mushrooms and a great technique on how to get Podzoil so that you can grow big mushrooms without having to worry about that pesky light level. I hope that you enjoyed this video from OMG Craft. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a big ol' thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe for future videos, tips, tricks, tutorials, and spotlights. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye!